All right, it is time to check. How does this sound? Ooh, that is a lot more of a delay than normal. Hey, Heather. Good to see you. How you doing? We are having some crazy weather in Texas the last uh, week or so. Hey, Des, good to see you. And I think it's affecting our internet because things seem to be a little on the weird side. Heather says, I'm okay. How are you? I am all right. I'm all right. 1 second, I'll be on camera. All right. Um, let's see. Get started. I had a new video come out today. Finally. Took a while, but I got it out. I was going to get a cat, but he ran away. So, no cat yet. Des has watched it. Oh, nice. Thank you, Des. Stop moving so much, camera, please. So, you might notice something's a little different. Actually, I don't think you can see it. Let me see. Hold on. Let me. There we go. You might see my setup's a little different. There's all this stuff now. If you're wondering, what's all that about? Well, my normal way of attaching my painting to the board, as you all know, involved tape. Not a new easel. No, the easel, everything's the same. I built this. I don't want to have to be careful with what okay. So I built this, um, and it is like an easel, but it's I designed it to fit on my easel, like on the board. Not so it's like an easel on my easel, which seems so silly, but it's because this easel isn't great for for smaller paintings. So that's why. The other reason is because this painting fell off the tape and then fell face forward. What's it called? So it fell face forward, hit I think the easel here, because you can see like a mark going right across here, and then face forward on the carpet. So I got frustrated with the fact that that happened, and I went and built this other easel in like 2 hours in my garage. It's not perfect. For some reason, it's slanted a little to one side. It's not really a big deal, but you know, whatever. Yay, kitty hair incorporated in the painting. Yeah, a lot of kitty hair and my hair and all kinds of stuff. I haven't cleaned it yet because um, it seems like it would be easier to clean while it was wet, but it would also smear everything around if I did it while it was wet. So it's easier to let it dry, which I'm pretty sure it's dry now, and I can go over it and like, scrape out all the imperfections that I see. Hopefully. But yeah, so like I said, I built this little easel in like 2 hours. It's not perfect, but it definitely will get the job done, for now at least. And I need a thing for my hair. I just took a shower and my hair is all over the place right now. Where is it? I have to hide all my hair ties because Dresden, if he sees them, will eat them. So they're always hidden because Dresden loves to eat them. Yeah. I might, at some point, I might take this easel apart and redo it to like make it to perfect it or something. There's a few areas where I wish I had done something a little different on it, but like I said, I was just working with what I had on hand kind of thing and just did it in like 2 hours. So it's definitely not perfect. But yeah. Alrighty. But yeah, it should be, yeah, it's pretty much dry. I also have to wash the carpet because this has phthalo in it. Which, if you know, phthalo gets everywhere, and I mean paint in general will get everywhere, but phthalo is the worst. Hey, space. I'm just gonna go with space. Space acts a lot, but space. Welcome. How you doing? Des says it'll get everywhere. Yeah, oil paint gets everywhere because it doesn't dry. So because it doesn't dry and it stays wet, it tends to get everywhere. Phthalo is a very overpowering and staining pigment that really gets everywhere. I'm good, thanks. How are you? I'm all right. I have to clean up this painting before I can actually start painting today. I was just talking about how it fell face forward onto the ground. So I have to do some cleanup on it before I can start. I also built a small little easel, so if the setup looks a little different today, that's why, because like I said, I had to build this little easel to allow me to, so that wouldn't happen again, basically. Because I'd rather it not happen, if possible. Oh no, I mean, it looks really good. Thank you. It didn't, luckily the painting's in a real early stages, so it's not a huge, it's not like a huge horrible thing. But there is some hair and stuff that got embedded, so I'm going to start the stream off today by trying to look through it and find the hairs and pull them out. I didn't do it when it was wet because I can be a little rougher with it now, and it won't smear the paint around. So I can if I need to, I can just scrape things off and it won't smear everything. But yeah, it happens, like I said, luckily, it's not too bad. Early stages, so it's like the painting will be fine. Let's see. Heather says, I bought a little portable easel because I can't afford a nice one yet. but I'm still new in my art journey, so I'm okay with a cheap one. Oh, of course, Heather. But if you need to, let's talk. I might be able to help you with some of that stuff in some way, because I'm kind of getting into it. Space says, "Wow, my Wi-Fi is going crazy. It's jumping your stream around." Oh no, no, I don't see any dropped frames on my stream, but I will say, um, oh wait, I did have some dropped frames, but not anymore. I will say this: I'm in Texas, and the weather's on the insane side right now. I don't know if you all have heard, but my connection says excellent, so I think the dropped frames were just at the beginning. But yeah, am I in a stormy area? Me? Yes, I am, absolutely. I don't know about space though. No, the weather is good. Okay. Yeah, I uploaded a video to YouTube today, so I have a new video out. And usually when I upload the video, it like uploads and then it does this like pre-check, and it uploaded just fine today. So meaning my internet speed was fine, but the pre-check that it goes through took like 3 times the amount of time it normally does, and that's that's on YouTube's side, not related to me, but it took like 3 times the normal time. So I'm wondering if there's like some overall stuff going on with like the internet at large kind of thing, because of all the storms and stuff that are happening. Or at least internet at large in the area, we'll say. In the region. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but it was surprising how long it took to go through the check that normally takes like a couple minutes, took like half an hour. Space says I'm in the UK, so I don't know. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It's so hard to know what the like where the origin of all the issues are with the internet, it being the monster beast that it is at this point. All right, I'm still here. Sometimes it's just easier to see things with the light kind of reflecting off of things. And this is the only angle I can get this view. So I bought this what's it called? I bought this palette knife originally because I wanted a tiny palette knife, which, makes sense, I suppose. It's small. But it is so stiff that I can barely use it for a palette knife, like for what I normally use a palette knife for. Sometimes I can. Like sometimes you want to get in there really into the detail and just put something, I can kind of use it that way, but I have smaller other implements that work better. Because it's so stiff, it's just not very usable for that. However, the thing that it is very useful for is scraping things off. Turns out, because it's so stiff and because it's so small, it makes it even more stiff. It turns out it's a really good scraper. So it's a little funny to me, but yeah. Also, for anyone who's like getting into painting and needs like implements or whatever and is, you know, doesn't have them or whatnot. I bought this at the grocery store. It's a spatula. I don't recommend this one in particular because it has these like, I don't know if you can see them. It basically has like fake sprinkles in it. It's about, you know, they're plastic. It's supposed to be like baking sprinkles or whatever. And this one right here on the tip kind of sticks out a little from the silicone. And so when I push it, like carves into the paint and I hate it. But otherwise, this is just a silicone spatula and it works great for a lot of things, you know, because like I have these ones, like these are silicone, you know, well, brushes or whatever. These ones, this one's softer. You can get them firmer or you can get them, you know, there's firm ones, soft ones, all that. But yeah, you don't always have to get like expensive, you know, tools and stuff designed for painting. There's a lot of things out there that aren't designed specifically for painting that work really well for painting. So just thought I'd mention it. And let me get my brushes because I totally forgot to get them. Did you all hear my phone just now? I'm curious if my, what's it called? If my sound suppression worked well enough to make it so you guys didn't hear it or not. Also, yeah, when I first started out, I actually used a desktop easel, like a really cheap desktop easel. I still have it somewhere. No, I think wait, do I have it? I don't know if I still have it. I either have it or I pulled it apart for parts. I think I still have it downstairs, actually. But yeah, those are totally worth it. And there's really good easels now for cheaper. You didn't hear it? Oh, good, Des. Thank you. Like, what's it called? I've seen a bunch of easels online. I don't know how good they are. Like maybe their quality isn't like, you know, top notch, but like they still look pretty good. And for the price, they look pretty good. And there's a bunch of artists who I know who are, you know, professional artists. And I know they use that brand because I've seen their posts online. And it's, you know, I can see the brand of the easel that they're using and so on. So, you know, like when I bought my big easel, the easel that everything's on top of right now, it was, I think I got it for like $100, maybe it was 150 at the time. But I'm pretty sure you can get it. I feel like the prices have gone down quite a bit on it. I bought it quite a few years, well, like 3 or 4 years ago. So I think the prices have gone down quite a bit since then, because I feel now when I see the prices, they are less. So yeah. All right. So I'm a little nervous. I don't think it's dry enough to be oiled out, but I'm going to try it anyways. Which I realize is not the smartest thing to do, but yeah. Was it difficult to assemble? That's also a big issue for me. No, they're not hard to assemble at all. They're really easy. If you need help, let me put it this way, Heather. They're not difficult to assemble. If specifically you, if you need help, you can always call me and we could do like a video call. The physicality of putting it together isn't that much of an issue. Like this one's a little heavy, but the one I have is a little heavy, but when it's in pieces, you know, each piece isn't that heavy, and the cheaper ones are usually a little less heavy too. And you can get smaller ones as well. It's not that complicated to put together. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not. The other thing, what was I going to say? The other thing is, oh yeah. So anyone buying an easel, how can I explain this in a way that will make sense? So imagine, all right, I don't have, what's it called? I can't show an image right now, like, but imagine this is the center mass of the easel, right? So this is the bottom piece of the easel, right? And it goes up. It's, you know, this is usually something that you see on floor easels, just FYI, like ones that stand on the floor. They're either H, which means they have like 2 masts on the side, or you see it sometimes in like not tripod, but like 3-legged ones too. But anyways, this is something to look out for because it's an issue. So there are easels that have a center mass, right? And the idea is, you know, you put the painting here, right? The top part, you put, you know, put the top part down on the, you know, on the painting and on the canvas or whatever. And the canvas sits on here, right? And the idea is that this goes up and down depending on how high you want it, right? So everyone should be following along at this point. Hopefully I'm doing a good job. But this is what you want to look out for. There are easels where this mechanism here, it's not a knob. It's usually a pull thing. So you pull it, and you pull the knob. It's not a knob. It's a like little thing. You pull it, move it up, and then you release it. It's spring loaded, and the easel is set. But if you look underneath it, you will see the way that it works is there's these metal steps or teeth. So it's like a metal, I'm showing you from the side, like it's metal pieces that go like this, right? And the idea is that the spring thing catches in it. That's all fine. The problem is that when it goes up and down, the top of the mass is actually attached to this part. So what happens is when you raise this part, the top goes up as well. So if you need to raise it very high and you have low ceilings, you'll hit the ceiling. So it can significantly impact how high you can raise the bottom mast. For some people, that's not an issue because some people work only on large paintings, or some people, you know, will be working only sitting down. So even if they raise it to eye level, you know, completely like to eye level, when they're sitting down, it'll never hit the ceiling, and you'll always only have it at eye level or lower. You'll never have it above eye level. So that's not a problem for some people. But for others, it's a huge problem, because if I had one of those easels, I probably couldn't have my paintings set up the way that they are right now. Because if I had one of those easels, I wouldn't be able to lift the bottom part of the easel to this height because it would run into the ceiling. Heather says, yeah, with my knees, I paint sitting. I can't stand that long. That's absolutely fine. Like I said, it doesn't apply to everybody. Not everybody's going to need this, but it's one of those things to recognize. On the flip side, one of the positives about it is it's easier to set. Like once you set the height, you know, it just like locks into place, right? Whereas the twisty ones, you have to kind of, you know, it's basically working on friction. So if you don't tighten it enough and you put some pressure on it, sometimes it can slip. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they also tend to be the cheaper ones. I'm not guaranteeing that one, but from what I've seen. So there are advantages to it. You know, it's not all bad, but it's just something to be aware of. The other, okay, let's flip it around real quick. Here's another issue. These are all like really small things that you don't realize until you know, look into it. My easel actually has a major flaw too. The back mass, the way it's designed in a way where the top mass can only go down about, I think it's to like here or somewhere. Anything below that, and it can't go down because the mast is built in two pieces, and that's the thicker piece. So whenever I do paint sitting down, I can't paint small paintings. I run into the problem that my paintings don't go high enough. So it's the flip side of that. There are ways to deal with it. It's not like the end of the world, but it is very frustrating because you don't realize that, you know, or I didn't realize it when I bought it because I didn't know what to look for. So there's all these like little things to be aware of when you're buying an easel, which sucks that, you know, you have to deal with all that, but you know, it is what it is, right? Ooh. All right, so I can't oil out because it's literally stripping the paint off. Okay. Des says, I don't have anything holding my canvas still. My tabletop easel doesn't have a top thingy. I'll send you a picture later. So that's I recommend securing your painting from the top somehow. Oh shoot. By the way, Des, good job on that painting you sent me. I saw it when I don't remember when I saw it, but I was like half asleep when I saw it, and I didn't respond. But good job on that painting that you sent me. Yeah, if you have an easel that doesn't have a top part, or the top part can't reach or something, I suggest doing something to secure it. Sometimes you can even just take a clip like this, you know, like a little clasp thingy, right? And if you don't want to put it on the painting because you don't want it to mark it up, or you don't want it to, you don't want to, you can still often just put it like this onto the easel and do it at an angle so that the you know, the handle is actually over the painting. It might not hold it there, but it will hold it there if it like pitches forward, right? But you can often just put it like really tight against it, and even just that pressure pushing down on it will be enough to like hold it in place, you know, more. So these, you can use binder clips, you know, anything like that. Obviously, you could use, if you, I have this thing. Someone, I don't use it anymore, and oh, this rubber band is all dried out. I can feel it. But oof, yeah, this rubber band's dead. Yep, it snapped. Okay, but this was a rubber band. This is just a, it's like a picture hanger. The nail goes through here, and then you can hang, you know, on the wall, and you hang a photo on it. But you can also just like with a rubber band, you can put the rubber band, you know, through it, put this on the edge of the painting, and then you can wrap this around the you know, the what's it called, the easel or something. And sometimes it's good to have two rubber bands because you can interlock them, you know. I can't show you how to do it because they're broken, but you know, you basically, like, you put one through the other, and then you can pull them so they interlock. So yeah, and then you can, you know, use that to like pull it backwards. Don't put too much tension on it, of course, but it's a useful little trick. So yeah, hope that's helpful. All right. So no oiling out today. Okay then. I've probably been streaming for like half an hour and I haven't even started painting yet. Yeah. Yep. I hope you all don't mind because we've just been chit-chatting and talking about different things, so you know, it is what it is sometimes. And I need to clean off my palette because I kept meaning to get back to the painting, but then I was like, okay, I'll get to the painting. I just need to finish this thing. And then it was like, oh, I need to go build this thing because I don't want my painting to fall again. And then, oh, I need to do the video. I'll get back to the painting later today. And I never put away my palette like a dumbass. And now everything's dry on it. I really should have just put it away. That's the way it goes. Yeah, it is. It happens, you know. Obviously, it just like I kept planning on it, and it just one thing after another kind of thing. I'm just going to use a little bit of rubbing alcohol here to help me get some of the drier stuff off. It's just a shame because it's just a waste, and I know it's a waste, but like I always, you know, I never planned to waste the paint. I'm always like I said, I was going the day I painted this, I was going to go back and paint, and then it fell off the easel. So instead of spending 2 hours painting, I spent 2 hours making it, you know, an easel. And yesterday I had to go pick up my paintings from the gallery, which was cool. And then, what was it? I don't know. Oh, I made a tofu chicken pot pie yesterday for the first time. That was interesting. I never made, chicken pot pie before or tofu pot pie before. Came out really good. Only I could afford to order food in every day and never cook. Alrighty. So to get started here, I think one of the main things is I need to bring out some of the lighter colors so that I have better idea of the range I'm going to be dealing with. Because right now it's very dark. I don't mind it being dark. It's going to be a darker painting, but there's dark and then you know, there's dark. It needs to be a little more light because there are highlights. So I need to do that. Some of this might change, of course, but either I'm not 100% sold on the color yet. We'll see. But either way, I do need to get like just a better idea of my values in the painting. Our eyes are so affected by, like relative color and values that sometimes, even though even if it's not the best time or I'm going to have to change it all, it's just better to put in things so that I can see it. I know some people are like, uh, some people can totally do without that, or they've either trained enough or they get everything kind of organized on their palette so they already know what it's going to be so they don't have to do that and they just like match colors perfectly. But yeah, I don't. So I do need to sometimes just put in my lights so I can see. So even though I am putting in the highlights, though, one thing I got to be careful of is that um, the distribution of the highlights. So in this piece is kind of a, like, the reference image is a darker image um, overall, but there are obviously like highlights and reflected lights and everything that are lighter, but it's not a smooth what's it called, transition to those highlights. Like, everything stays darker and it just spikes for those highlights. So the transition, I have to be careful not to like make the transition to the highlights very smooth, because that will make it seem, the whole scene, lighter than it actually is. It's not like I wouldn't consider it like a big deal or something that's like major. I mean, it's important, but if you match colors, it'll, or values, it'll naturally happen. But it is something that's like in the back of my head that I try to be aware of, so that it can help guide me when I'm looking at my lighter colors. Also, I'm not matching my colors exactly, obviously, so this is not going to be like a realistic, painting color-wise. So I do have to focus more on value than the colors, in a way. The funny thing about paint is, because of the limitation of the paint, sometimes when, like, the lightest point in a very dark painting is sometimes the same as the lightest point in a very bright painting, because you can only go so white, and so you need to, or so light, and you need to take advantage of those colors, when you can. So it's funny that sometimes the like lightest point and the darkest point on two very different paintings are still the same, regardless. It's just about how you distribute you know, those colors and those values, and then how you uh, yeah, I guess how you distribute them would probably be the most accurate way of phrasing that. Okay, let me go. I'm making a mistake. I'm going straight into the face. I haven't warmed up yet. Let's go into some other areas first. Some some easier areas to work on. So the idea with this painting is I'm using my magenta and my phthalo green emerald for the figure, um, and white, but and then for the leather that he's wearing, I'm using black and blue, and then for the flag behind him, obviously, red, white, and blue. Ban. Just had to deal with spammers for a second. All right. But the thing I really like about the phthalo green, emerald, or yellow shade and the quinacridone rose, they're colors that go together so well, and they also they cancel each other out nearly perfectly to make a chromatic black. Now, I say nearly perfectly because the brand you buy does change it. If you buy Gamblin, it is nearly perfect because that's actually how they make their sorry, that's how they make their chromatic black, is they use those two paints. So that's how they do it. Hi, wizard. Bye, wizard. Sorry, I was going to show him, but he left as soon as he came in. He's like, "Oh, you're here? I'm going to leave." For those who don't know, Wizard is my dog. Okay, hold on a second. I have to go make sure everything's okay because I'm hearing a lot of sounds from that area. And the cats are all here. So hold on a second. Hi, Wizard. Are you okay? Hello. You okay? Aw. All right. Excuse me for a minute. I have to go take care of him. He's freaked out a little for. I'll explain in a minute. All right. I'll be right back. All right. I am back. Sorry about that. Let's see. My room's a mess, but still, here is Wizard. Hi, Wizbo. Say hi. Oh, Yeah, my room's a disaster right now. I've got all these things I'm unpacking and packing. But there he is. The donut is because he's been licking a spot on his arm. Um, and we're trying to stop him from doing that. He's freaking out a little bit today because Michelle left and he's now here by himself. But she when she leaves, he sits by the door, just all the way by the door. So we locked him upstairs so that he wouldn't do that, and he's not used to that. So now he doesn't know what to do. It's okay, wizard. You can stay in here if you want. Come here. Sit. Hey, good boy. Why is he licking his arm? So he has some bald spots from what's it called? From being at the breeders. And even though we've tried to take care of it, the vet says that basically at this point they're not expecting the hair to grow back, which is fine. It's it is what it is. It's just from I think pressure points or whatever. He wasn't treated well. So, but I guess he got, I don't know, a scratch or some hair pull, whatever it is, something bothered him and he started licking it excessively and it just made it worse. And so now he's, pulling hair there and licking and it's scabbing and, you can't tell him, don't pick at your scabs, right? You're only making it worse. So, the donut. It's not a cone of shame, just a donut. Because he just needs to not lick his forearms, that's all. So yeah, he's fine. It's nothing major. It's just something to, that we gotta keep on top of kind of thing. Poor sweetie. Yeah. He's also, what's it called? He's also a little nervous right now because the cats are all up here. It's getting close to dinner time, so the cats are like gargoyles haunting me at the moment. And the cats make him nervous. No one does anything to anyone in this house. It's ridiculous. Like he's nervous about the cats are nervous around him. It's kind of silly, but that it is what it is. Let's see. Heather says Z licked her tummy bald after Steve died, and we had to move, but her fur is starting to grow back, and she's happier in the big house than in the tiny apartment. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. I had a cat years ago, and I put a harness on her because I was trying to train her to go walking because I moved to a very small place, and I wanted to be able to take her walking and stuff like that so that she would get out and get the not exactly all the exercise she needed, but it was such a small place. I wanted to do that. Um, and the harness, so I put the harness on her and I left it on her for like a couple days, I think, if I remember correctly, so that she'd get used to it. Because when cats are so silly, when I put it on her the first time, it was like I put on a straight jacket or something, or like I disabled her, like she like just kind of fell over, like Like I said, cats are kind of stupid sometimes. Um, so I left it on her to get her used to just, having it on. And when I took it off, it had rubbed the hair off almost entirely in the air in those areas. Um, so I left it off of her, and I'd never put it on for a long time again. It all grew back. She was fine. Uh, but yeah, I didn't know that was a danger. Boy, wizard, you can lay down. You don't have to stand. He's just standing here behind me. Like, you can lay down. It's okay. Heather says he has not been in her harness since she slipped out of it at your house. Oh, well, oh, that is the other thing. Yeah, actually, you reminded me of this. Thank you. My cat could get out of the harness at any time she wanted to. Um, no, let me rephrase that. She couldn't get out of the harness anytime she wanted to if it was the harness on her, like just the harness. But if the harness was attached to anything, this meaning it had any kind of, you know, point of resistance, she could get out of it no problem. She would like pull, twist, and like flop around and twist like a crazy cat for like a second, and then she'd be out of it. It was crazy. But without that, she couldn't get out of it. But if you can't tie anything to the harness, it kind of defeats the purpose of the harness, you know? Like, yeah, that's the whole point of the harness. Anyways, uh, Heather says she made it clear she did not like it. Oh, Z, yeah, yeah. Animals. It's very frustrating because a lot of time, not a lot. Well, yeah, a lot of times, we do all kinds of stuff for them that they don't like, but like it's for their own good. They're really bad at that, at dealing with that. Good boy, wizard. He finally sat down. think I'm just going to have to live with some dry brush effects happening on this painting. Oh, wow. I can try to like eliminate them all, but I don't know that it's even worth it. Oh, by the way, quick question to anyone who did watch my video. Um, I wasn't sure. Did the joke with the plein air stuff, did that work? Or did that, was that a complete, you know, did that not make sense at all? The joke. Hopefully it did. It's so hard to know sometimes. I can't, what's it called? I can't workshop it before I put stuff out. So I was just curious. Because I found out, for instance, the video I did, which was a joke about how I do my paintings, some people didn't get it. Some people didn't understand that it was a joke. I feel bad about that. You don't specifically remember the joke, please remind me. I showed a sample of my landscape painting, and then I also showed my what's it called? A sample of my plein air painting. You had to see it. It was a visual joke. It was not in this, like, you, if you weren't looking at the screen, you might have not noticed it. Which I understand. I do understand why people, like, you know, watch stuff without looking at the screen the whole time. So, oh yeah, it was cute and funny. Okay, good. All right, good. I'm glad it was clear. Like I said, the one where I did the like abstract art, you know, and it showed like how I make a painting. Yeah, so literally, I had some people who did not understand either they thought it was actually how I paint or absolutely did not understand what was going on. That says I feel so inadequate with landscape. I need to practice. Yeah, I mean, it is all about practice. The good part is that, you know, there's a lot of transferable skills from, you know, painting people to landscapes. There is some stuff that like obviously doesn't, or that you need to learn, uh, as someone who also needs to learn some of it, you know, but there's a lot of transferable skills. Like the ability to, you know, quote unquote paint what you see is the heart of it. Now, that's, you know, the simplest part of it, right? Understanding what you're seeing sometimes is, you know, is difficult, and knowing what is important and what isn't is something that requires practice, and sometimes knowledge. Like, you know, I could look at a tree and decide like, oh, this one detail about that tree doesn't matter, only to find out that no, that particular detail is very important, because without that detail, you know, it's a different type of tree or some, I don't know. I don't know much about trees. So, uh, you know, I will say if you want to do landscape paintings, I do think that doing plein air paintings is very helpful. Now, to be clear, I don't think that if you want to do landscapes, you need to be a plein air painter. You can still be a you can still paint landscapes without being a plein air painter. However, and you can be a good landscape painter without being a good plein air painter. However, the reason that I say that I think plein air painting is very important if you're going to do landscapes is because of one particular thing. And this also comes down, this works too with models, with people, like why it's good to work from models and not just photographs, is because of how we see things and how a camera sees things aren't the same. I know we're so used to seeing photography and video, we equate the two, but it's not. And so going outside and painting or drawing from life helps you remember those things. You don't actually have to go and paint and draw, but it's very hard to study what you're seeing the same way if you don't, if you're not painting, if that makes sense. But that's purely why. You don't even need to do a good job of it. You just need to like commit these facts to memory. And the more you do it, the more you get used to it. And I am not, you know, as someone who doesn't do it that often, I'm not claiming to be an expert. I have done it, I would say, enough to know that that exists, you know. And also learning about photography and cameras and stuff like that can also help a lot, right? Because it can help you know, like, what is it about cameras that are different from our eyes and so on. And so it can help you kind of adjust your paintings to, you know, in different ways. Unless you want your paintings to look like they were photographs, right? Like some people do that. There's a an artist, I can't remember his name right now. He does these night scenes based off of photography that he, you know, that he does, and he draws in all the bokeh balls and all the, you know, all of that. Like he paints it in, so it really looks like a, you know, a photograph. It's clearly a photograph. And that's his style. That's fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's a choice. But yeah, it definitely takes a lot of practice. For anyone who, I know not everyone's up for the challenge of going out and drawing or painting because, like, I get it. Um, but if anybody does want to, there are groups in a lot of places that do either plein air painting or drawing. One of the most popular ones is Urban Sketchers. There's Urban Sketchers of fill in the city. There's like groups everywhere. I think a lot of them you can find on Facebook, if I'm not mistaken. Sometimes, they do tend to lean a little older, but they're very accepting of younger people. So to anyone who's like, you know, a bit younger and it's like trying to find, groups or whatever, they are very cool. So don't be dissuaded by that. And then there's in LA, there's the Weekend Warrior painters, and you can actually find them not just in LA. There's some different chapters in other places as well. So yeah. There's probably, and there's not probably, there's definitely other plein air groups out there. I just don't know the names of all of them. Wizard, try not to step on my paintings, if you don't mind, please. No, wizard, no, don't. You can't go in there. You literally will not fit and you'll knock everything over. Okay, you can sit there. This dog does not know his own size at all. I don't know if that's a dog trait or what, but like he does not understand how big he is, and he tries to fit in places where he clearly cannot fit. Good boy, wizard. I need Delo blue. I will say one thing too, if you're ever going to do um, plein air painting, I will say my palette works for plein air painting. Um, like you can totally make the colors you need. However, I've come to the conclusion that if you're going to plein air paint, it's probably more practical to use a palette that has more, what's it called? convenience colors because speed is such a factor to this. So if you are going to go plein air painting, that is my recommendation regarding palette. Don't solely use a CMYK palette. Get some convenience colors that you can use easily. I'm also, when it comes to plein air painting, I'm so torn about mediums. Like what medium is the best medium for plein air painting? I'm really torn about that. I wish I had a definitive answer. Obviously, it's whatever you like. That's the, go-to. But when I try to evaluate it, right? Like which one is the best? And it is tough to decide. Oil paint is really good for plein air because it, even if it's hot, it stays wet. It is semi-resistant to water. If it's like light sprinkles or something, like you may be okay. You can use, Gamsol and stuff like that in the open air because you don't have to worry about ventilation. But on the negative side, it's harder to travel with because Gamsol, like you can't travel with Gamsol a lot of times, at least not by plane. The setup and teardown is usually a little more involved. You need a wet panel carrier of some kind, which is a whole problem. So, it does suffer from that. And the setup that you have to use is usually just a little more involved or elaborate to a degree. Acrylics have nearly the same setup as oil, I think, except for you can use water instead of turpentine, so they're better for travel, and you don't need a wet panel carrier. So that is a positive. Negative, they dry so fast, so you have to deal with that while you're painting. And if it's very hot, they will dry faster. And all the water-based paints suffer from that particular issue that they dry faster. When it's hot. And that might seem trivial, but I once was painting in the desert, and I was using gouache, and my paint would dry on my brush between the time it went from the palette to the painting surface, to the paper. So it can be a bit of a problem. It's usually not, but to be fair, it's usually not that bad, but it can be. Watercolors and gouache to me seem like the easiest ones. Like these are the ones that require probably the smallest setup in theory. They're most versatile. You can take them probably anywhere. And I feel like they require the least amount of, setup and everything. So I feel like they might be the best for plein air in theory. Although there is something to be said about just, taking your whole setup and taking it to go and just, doing that. So Des says, I've wondered how doing plein air digitally would be. I need to be in the shade with my tablet to be able to see the screen, which might be difficult. Well, yeah, yes and no. So first of all, you always want to be in the shade. You don't want to be in direct light when you do plein air painting, if you can help it. Even if, that's why like the people will also bring like umbrellas, or some people have like screens that they put up because you don't want direct light on your painting. Um, because you won't, if you have direct light on your painting, you won't be able to see what you're painting. Like you won't be able to evaluate anything properly. So you don't want that. Anyways, but digitally, I've done it. I don't like it for numerous reasons. It has some advantages, but I don't like it. Also, it like my my tablets and computers and stuff like that would start getting pretty hot, especially if you're in the heat. And the battery, like like the iPad, technically the battery seems to last a long time, but for whatever reason, when you're plein air painting or drawing, it doesn't last nearly as long as it normally does. And I think part of that is the heat. Um, I'm not sure. Maybe, although to be fair, I haven't really taken my iPad plein air painting. I used, I don't know. It can work. I don't find it. I don't know. I don't like it that much. But maybe I'm not. I know people who have done it, so it's definitely doable. Like you can do it for sure. The program sucks a lot of juice too. Yeah, it does. And when you're using it intensely, you don't like. I feel like sometimes you don't realize how much juice it sucks up in an hour until you go plein air painting for an hour and you're like, oh man, that just drained like half my battery. But like I said, I think the iPads have gotten better about that. So I don't know. Maybe I'm overdoing it. It's been a while since I've used my iPad to like draw seriously, so I don't know how battery intensive it is anymore. I can't even remember. But like I said, I know it is doable. So if that's like the best option for you, go for it. Don't let those things stop you. Start, try it out, and see how it goes. Just be careful because not many people are going to like rob you for your paint, generally speaking. But iPads are different. So do be cautious. Yeah, the thing too is people have this idea of like what plein air painting is. You can plein air paint from your car. I know a lot of people who do that too, right? Like not saying that they exclusively do that, but you can do that. Like you can go drive somewhere, find a good like parking spot that has like, you know, some good things to paint, you know, parks, hillsides, you know, stuff like that. You know, lakes, all kinds of places. So there is a way to do that, you know, um, to make life easier too. You know, if that's something you have access to. You know, I know not everybody does, but yeah. I remember talking to this guy. I cannot remember his name, unfortunately. Um, but he came into my streams. Trying to remember that. I think this was back when I only streamed only on Twitch. I think, and he conveyed his experience of trying to be an artist. I say trying to be an artist. It's not fair. Being an artist, but you know, he's young and you know, like his experience in it. Um, trying is not the right word. But the reason I that came to mind is because all the stuff that he has to go through to be an artist, because he doesn't have access to like all the things that we have access to here. He's from I didn't say this. He's from Brazil, if I remember correctly. And the way he conveys it, it's just like he can't buy paint. He has to literally make his own paint. Um, and like he can't take his camera or his phone outside. Like if anyone sees it, they'll basically steal it. He can't take his, you know, his stuff outside. Like it just sounds like, oh my God, it sounds exhausting and really, really difficult to deal with. So it's very impressive to me that, you know, he continues to like push forward and work at it and everything. a few details that were left out of the early sketch stage that are getting put in now, that I think add to the overall attitude of this painting. The model definitely has a very uh, punk rock aesthetic, that's for sure. This painting is clearly not going to fall into one of the categories of like the very like moody, ethereal paintings of mine. That is clear. I mean, it might be moody, but definitely in a different way. Just because the contrast is so high in this. Oh, I saw this video this week. Um, Friend shared it with me. I guess Kevin Smith is going around um, buying I think it's Rocky and Bullwinkle's merchandise and stuff like that. I guess he's into collecting that now. Um, so it was conveying that like it's a it's weird when he shows up to people's houses to like, you know, people put that stuff up for sale and he's the one who shows up and they're like, wait a second, aren't you? You know, that kind of thing happens, which is funny. But it reminded me of Heather's story, and Heather can, you know, chime in if she wants or not. But I just remember that you met him at the grocery store one time, and if I remember correctly, he bought you a pineapple, or paid for your groceries and bought you a pineapple. If I remember correctly, because you were in line and you had to go put something back, and then when you came back, they told you that he just bought it for you or something. Don't remember the exact details, but it was really nice of him. He didn't have to do that. It was very kind, and honestly, it's that type of stuff that like makes me think much more highly of people. Heather says that's right. He was very sweet. Yeah, that is a very sweet thing to do. I know, like, technically speaking, that probably doesn't, that didn't amount to much for him, but he doesn't have to, right? Like, there's nothing, he didn't have to do anything about it. You didn't ask. He, um, it, you didn't, he didn't post about it. Like, it's just, he saw an opportunity and he's like, oh, this is very minor for me. I don't mind helping someone out. And I will say every other interaction I've had with him, because I've met him a couple times, he's always been super nice and, everything. But, you expect that a lot of times when you meet people in like, fan spaces, like he's never, he's not going to be rude at Comic Con. You know what I mean? Like that'd be stupid. Uh, Heather says, then when I cut my finger slicing the pineapple, I yelled, damn you, Kevin Smith. That's a skill issue on your part. Sorry. But yeah, I've heard other stories about him doing all kinds of like little things that I'm just like, oh, that, I like that. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure he has issues and whatever, but you know, I do appreciate people who treat other people decently, especially when they don't have to. thing I find interesting about paintings like this is that there's an element of like color coding to it, right? Like it's like, okay, if it's in the light part, it's this color. If it's in the dark part, it's this color. And it's not 100% accurate because, you just kind of go with what feels right sometimes, but there is an element of that to it. And I'm not saying it like a bad thing. That's fine. It's just I think it's interesting because it kind of eliminates some of the like color mixing and color, figuring out stuff so you can focus more on value to a degree. Stretching time? It's interesting because I'm looking at this right now and let's see. Let me look at this real quick. So I'm looking at this and even though I am clearly like Des says I'm moving rooms, be right back. Okay, Des. Clearly like I'm defining things better and like it's clarifying, right? The image is clarifying a bit and there's, it's getting more dimensions and everything. There is an element of it that I liked more before. So, like when in the, during the process. So, which is often the case. It's a very common thing. And there's, in addition to the real, like, in addition to, how can I put this? Like, there are reasons that are real reasons, and then there's also perceptual reasons why that is the case, which I don't mind getting into at one point. But yeah, um, definitely there are definitely some elements of this that I preferred when how it was previously. So I have to figure out how to get back to that without losing the good stuff that I've built so far. And that is a tough thing to do sometimes. In case you're wondering why your, you know, your sketch or your drawing, yeah, I guess your sketch or your, you know, or your lay-in or whatever, like the early stages of your painting or drawing look better to you than the finished stage. There's a few reasons for that. Um, one of the reasons is that there are definitely elements in your, hold on a second. So yeah, the reason that some of your drawings the sketch stage or the lay-in stage of your drawing or painting or whatever looks better than the finished stage is because there's two elements to this, two major elements, I think. One is that there are some really positive elements to sketches and like the block-in stages a lot of times. And some of those elements do or are not always kept or incorporated until the end. And so you do lose those, and those elements do in fact make your drawing or painting better. And it's really hard to incorporate some of them because some of them are kind of counter to a finished piece. Like sketch lines a lot of times add a lot of energy to a drawing. Well, that's great, but if you can't have a polished drawing with sketch lines. Technically you can, it's difficult, but it is difficult to do. And so keeping that energy is often very difficult. And with painting, there's a lot of other things like the loose edges, sometimes the random stuff. There's all kinds of elements that are really good that sometimes you lose when you take it to a completion. The other element, though, is a perceptual element. And what I mean by that is when you draw for instance, if you sketch a circle, and you do a few circles, your brain kind of averages them out and picks out the most like perfect circle out of all of the lines together. But if you take one line and just draw a circle, you can see how wonky it is, right? That's part of it. Like when you sketch and there's a bunch of messy lines, your brain just picks out the average and kind of like puts them all together and makes it look better than it is. Our brains are really weird that way. So, you can look at a sketch or a lay-in of your painting or something, and it looks really good. And it's your brain, you could think, oh, the eye's in the right place, and it's not. But it's because some of the lines are in the right place, some aren't, and your brain is just picking it and making it kind of look good to you. And for everyone who looks at it. And then when you like clean it up and you have to really pick out the lines that you want to keep, suddenly it, falls apart. And you're just like, why did it just fall apart? And that would be why. At least that's my theory of it based off of people I've talked to, things I've read, and so on. I'm not saying I came up with this by myself. I'm saying I'm taking from other people just over the years. All right. Let's see what can be done here. Hi, Dresden. I just got back to painting. Why didn't you come earlier, little boy? So rude of him not to be on my schedule. Oh, Dresden. Hi, baby boy. Mm. I know you want dinner, but my nose is not dinner. I promise you, not dinner. Yeah, it's Dresden. Mm. He is kneading my shoulder. Oh, the pain. My beard's too long for him to lick now. When it's short, he grooms my beard, but it's too long now. Heather, the auto mod caught you. Try it without the um, you know, the dad part. It might go through. Yep. Heather says giving kisses on the nose. She originally wrote giving his daddy kisses on the nose, and that got auto modded. That's funny. Heather says that's so weird that that would be auto modded. Um, Not with current internet culture. What's wrong with what you said? Um, think of like you know, think of like an OnlyFans girl streaming. Of course, it doesn't have to be someone who does OF. It could just be like a gamer girl streaming or something, but you could see how that would be weird. We living in the worst timeline, lol. There's definitely some elements that I would agree with you on that, but not all. I know there's a lot bad, but there's also there's also a lot of improvements overall, but I do know I know it's a joke. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of things that are just like awful. All right, Tristan. But yeah, it's weird to like, it is weird because, you'll find like, I'm on Twitch and as well. And, you sometimes you go to people or even on YouTube, you go to certain creators or you look up something and it comes up to someone, and you're like, oh, they're doing this. And you think it's about whatever it is. And then you find out that they also do like other types of content. And you're like, okay, I don't have anything against that, but it's, not what I was looking for at the time, I come across this a lot because, what's it called? I follow a lot of cosplayers, and a lot of cosplayers don't, but a lot of them do as well. And so, I mean, like I said, I don't have any problem with it, but it's just sometimes what's it called? Um, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Like it shows up in your feed when you're not expecting it or not looking for that just because of the other things. 'Cause, yeah, I follow a bunch of like cosplayers and some models and some fashion people who like, do like alternative fashion and stuff like that. Um, because I was trying to find some references. I'm actually talking to someone who she describes her look as Barbie goth. We might be doing a photo shoot in the near future. And I'm just like, because I do appreciate like, I like that stuff, the fashion and different types of fashion and looks. It feels more comic book coded, and I come from comic books, so I like that. But yeah, you got to be careful of opening up Instagram in public sometimes. God forbid you open up what's it called? Uh, Twitter. As bad as Instagram can be, Twitter. Oh my God. I don't use Twitter anymore for the record. I still have my Twitter, but I don't use it anymore. I refuse to. Heather, you clearly haven't been keeping up to date with like all the dramas that have happened in the last couple of years with Twitch and uh, they've had all kinds of dramas with their terms of service and the people that they ban and what's it called? They have a lot of there's a lot of like they've kind of worked it all out now, but for a while there's all these different like there's these models who um there was like the hot tub meta, which is just like these girls would stream um to get around the rules of like what they're allowed to wear because you can wear like a bathing suit if you're at the beach, but you're not allowed to just stream in a bathing suit. So they set up, pools in their apartments, like little, little pools and stuff like that. And it just continued to devolve from there. Heather says, yeah, I don't understand Twitch at all. I can barely keep up with Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, they're very clever the way they kind of like get around all the rules and stuff, to be fair to everyone who does that. Oh, and oh my God, the funniest thing was for like a day, Twitch they tried to like reduce their or lighten up a bit on their terms of service. So they because okay, here's a really annoying thing on a lot of platforms, but Twitch specifically. For instance, if I do a painting of a woman and she's, topless, even if it's, a what's it called? Just a, just a study, a model study, or if I'm going to dress her, but I want to like draw out the underlying forms first. If their algorithm picks up on it, and I did get banned once for that. If they're, for like a day, if their algorithm picks up on that, that's it. They ban you, right? They call it ban. It's really a suspension. So for like a day, they tried to lighten up on that, and they like allowed artistic nudity. And I don't think it lasted even 24 hours because people went crazy with that and made it, not kid friendly. But it is very frustrating because a lot of, there's a lot of art that involves nudity that it's not like sexualized, because it's just the human body, right? But can't show any of that. It's very, very frustrating. Heather says, of course, people went crazy. What were they thinking? LOL. I don't know what they were thinking. It was such an obvious mistake, especially because they have a lot of VTubers on Twitch, and there's a lot of anime artists as well. Anime and manga artists there, and a lot of those things lean towards the sexualized already. Yeah. So that was a huge mistake that did not last. Like I said, I don't think it even lasted a day. But it was funny. At one point, some of these models, they started playing video games. So a lot of them are like gamers and stuff like that. They're streamers. I'm not trying to take away from it. but the idea is they also, funnel people to their fan site, right? So they were playing, they would wear like green screen or green like pants, skirts, underwear, bikinis, or whatever it is, right? And they would use a green screen, and they would digitally project the game on those areas. So they would have like cutouts, on their body, but yeah, they went crazy with it. They've done all kinds of stuff. They're very, like I said, they're very smart. They're way better at marketing than I am. I'll say that. That's for sure. So even though I'm a fan of brushy paintings, I want to see the brush marks. When I smear stuff like this, a lot of times it gets rid of the brush marks, and that might seem counterintuitive, but it's a balancing act, right? I like the brushiness, but I also like a lot of smooth areas because the smooth areas help help give it more like mood and atmosphere. So it's the combination of the two sometimes, not just one or the other. Just FYI, if anyone's curious why I'm like doing certain things, that is the thought process behind it. I have thought about trying to no, like do what's it called? Um like paint or draw VTuber models, for like a side job kind of thing. But I don't draw the anime style that most of them are looking for. So also the rigging is ridiculous. I'd have to learn how to do all that. I feel like I could learn it, but it's a lot, of course. Ooh, okay. I'm gonna have to get going soon. Just giving you all a little heads up. I will be ending stream relatively soon. For anyone who doesn't know or wasn't here earlier, I put out a new YouTube video on my YouTube channel. If you're already watching me on YouTube, well, it's right there. But if you're on Twitch, There's a new YouTube video on my YouTube channel. Other than that, I have paintings and prints available on my website, and there's a Discord, and I don't know what else. No, Heather, you did not show me your Van Gogh painting that you did for class. At least I don't remember it. If you did, I apologize. That does happen sometimes. One of the things I hate that does happen to me sometimes is people will send me things, and I'll see it like when I'm like literally half asleep or something, and I totally forget about it. That has happened to me before. Like I've literally looked at things in the middle of the night and not known it. Um, it doesn't happen often. I'm not saying every time, but it has happened to me a few times. And for the record, middle of the night can be very different for me because I have a messed up sleep schedule at the moment. I'll text it to you. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go very soon and feed the cats. And I guess I should feed the dog as well. I definitely lost some of my lights. Let's get some of those back so I can keep perspective on everything. So one thing that like you'll hear artists or teachers talk about is like use the largest brush you can. There's good reason for that. I've talked about it before. Like it really helps you unify things and keep things together. It helps you not get bogged down into the detail. Um, yeah, it's very and people have a tendency to use a brush that's too small overall, like generally speaking. And right now, I am using a brush that in some ways is too small. Um, really, I can do a lot of this with a bigger brush. The reason, though, that I'm like choosing to use a smaller brush here is because I want to, I don't want this painting to have the same degree of finish everywhere. So I want to like get the details in and do some like of the like more refinement. And then there'll be areas that I'm going to try and purposefully, do a lot less of that. So it helps me kind of mentally decide like what I'm doing at the moment. So I don't know, I try to share like my thought process behind a lot, like why am I choosing to do stuff and why sometimes why am I completely disregarding the like things I say myself. I think I've moved his face out a little too far on this side. I'm not sure. I think I'll have to push the edge in a little bit. It's a very minor thing. Just try and take stock as I go kind of thing. Sometimes it's not always the like, oh, you see it, so do it now. That's not always the best time, but it is good to kind of take stock of things. So the green color is clearly the shadow color, even though like shadow should be based off of value, not color. So it's interesting because it lets me actually go a little bit lighter in value than I probably should because it's like, oh, well, it's fine because it's the shadow color. So it's a little bit of a cheat. A little. You can't go too far with it or it breaks the painting. Like it breaks the what's it called? Um, it'll break the values and it'll make it look weird. But you can get away with a little bit of that. some of this is very hard to paint because I literally just can't see what I'm painting, because in the reference it's so dark that I don't know what I'm painting, so I have to kind of guess at some of it. I don't know if these count as dreadlocks. It's hard for me to tell with his hair, but it looks like dreadlocks up in a like bun of some kind, or a mohawk. I can't tell from this picture. Alrighty. Well, it's starting to come together. I am going to have to call it a day for today's stream. I'll be back on Sunday. Yeah. Thank you everyone for hanging out and talking and checking out the new video and everything else. Thank you all. Yeah, that's all I got right now. I'm usually too tired to do much of an outro, so thanks everyone. Catch you later. Have a good night. Yeah, have a good night, Heather. Yeah, I'm glad we got to hang out today too. All right, have a good one, everybody.